Welcome to the Soulfull Sound Podcast. This podcast is about celebrating the leaders, teachers, and coaches who guide fellow humans to connect, heal, and discover themselves so they can express their gifts into the world. I am Simone Niles, a coach, sound healer, vocalist, and author. Thank you for being here with me today. Super excited to have you join me. I have the wonderful Lisa Schuster, who is a Munich-based medical doctor, acupuncturist, meditation teacher, mentor, sound and yoga therapist. And she is known for her unique ability to support people in releasing unhealed traumas so they can deeply relax and connect with their full potential. Yummy, yummy, yummy. How incredible that is. I love it. Talk to me, Lisa. I had a look at your site. I had a look at your story, and I'm really curious to know how, you became a sound therapist. Why did sound medicine become something that you became involved in? Tell me a bit about your story.
Yes, thank you that I can be here. Such a pleasure. And yes, so about my journey, I can say in the beginning, it was not planned like this at all. It all just unfolded, sometimes naturally, sometimes not so naturally.
Yes.
And I was studying medicine and was about to become a medical doctor because my vision was always to learn about the human body and help people. That was the initial step that and the thoughts that drove me to these studies.
Yes.
But then during the studies, I was just it was challenging for me because I was always an overachiever and a perfectionism, and I wanted everything to be perfect. And then I did also really intense sports, like bodybuilding next to my medical studies. And there was a point where my body just shut down. And I just had chronic pains all the time and anxieties and super, super negative thoughts and depressions. So I was really not in a good place and still trying to do these studies and studying and doing all that you need to do as a medical student. But after my first big exam, which is after 2 years in medical school, I decided that something needs to shift. Like, yeah. I don't want to do this anymore like this. Like, life cannot be always a fight, a challenge, like always this tension and this feeling of I need to get through this day and I need to do more. I just wanted to, just change something. And I also knew it because my body was just not in a good place. And my blood samples, all of that was great. So the doctors didn't find anything, but I had these chronic pains in my body. Now I know that my body and my soul just wanted to show me that I was not on the right path for me and that I was meant to do something else. I started to dig into meditation and mindfulness and yoga, and I could really see that it helped me. And I was also reading a lot about it because as a medical student, I wanted to know more about the science behind all of this.
Yes.
Because spirituality at that point was not so accessible to me, to be honest.
Right.
I just wanted to know more about it, and I could find a lot of things and was really amazed by it. And through that I decided to do a yoga therapy training, and I did that also during my medical studies, and that opened up a whole new world for me. And also so much healing happened during these intense weeks because you really meditate so much, you do so much yoga and breathing exercises. And we also worked a bit with sound, with Tibetan singing bowls, and it shifted so much within me. And I went out of this experience and I just knew I'm not the person I was before. And I continued to do yoga on a daily basis and meditation. And what it did with me was really to reconnect me with my call it higher self, soul, intuition, whatever. And I could sense that I need to create music again and work with music, because I used to be a really musical kid, like always playing the piano, dancing, singing. And I just forgot about that completely. Already starting during school, but it got really worse during my medical studies.
Yes.
I felt this calling, and then I decided overnight to become a DJ. It was literally overnight. It was New Year's Eve with some friends, and they called me crazy, and I was like, yeah, I know, but I just want to learn it and see where it takes me. And all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, my DJ mentor appeared somehow out of nowhere.
Yes.
It was really divine coincidence. And that's how everything started. And he helped me a lot with setting up everything and learning the basics. And I started to play at bars and restaurants, like small venues. And I enjoyed it so much, and I loved it so much. And basically from there, it got really successful. And I was not planning to really do it professionally and do it as my job besides my medical studies. But it actually went like that. And I was traveling a lot and experiencing so many amazing places and people. And that also got me in touch and eventually with sound healing and the crystal singing bowls, which I discovered in California for the first time.
Amazing. Well, I definitely want to know more about that, because I see that you have your own Akasha singing bowl. So I'm going to ask you a lot about that. Before I go there, because you've dropped so many beautiful nuggets in your story so far, do you feel called to use your voice and sound in a healing capacity? Learn how to use your voice therapeutically to facilitate healing and well-being. Whether you want to go deeper in your own healing journey or facilitate others in theirs, this training is for you. This online training runs over 5 weekends and offers theory, practice, resources, and support on your path to becoming a qualified sound healer and for your personal healing journey. Thank you for sharing that, because it's incredible, the journey that you came on, starting with those, similar to me in a way, very much the musical child and not knowing where it would lead. But I'm so glad that you kind of went full circle and came back to it. But I noticed you used the words that you kind of felt this calling to go back to music. Talk to me about that. What is feeling a calling for you? Like, how does one know when they're feeling called to do something or to step into something? Tell me a little bit about that experience for you.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful question.
Thank you.
I think it's something that really comes from deep within, and it's not like a one-time thought or something, but it keeps reappearing all the time. And you also start to see it in the outside, and you notice like musicians outside and DJs. And I just felt really drawn to DJs when I was in a club. I was not so interested in like the surroundings and drinking or anything. I always wanted to know what the DJ is doing and how he's creating this atmosphere and how he knows which songs to mix together and these kind of things. So I just felt that I'm so curious about this and that I want to learn more about it. And it just kept coming up again and again. I think that's really something that's important about the calling, that it's not something that appears one time in your thoughts and then vanishes and never comes back, but it reappears all the time. And it's showing you, because my mind was telling me, of course, in the beginning, like, no, you can't do that. Like, you are about to become a serious medical doctor, right? So you cannot be a DJ. And society is also showing you that you just need to continue on one path and you need to excel on that and nothing else. So I was pushing it aside like all the time and telling myself, no, you need to concentrate on your studies only. That's like the most important thing. And everything else is not important. But I just got so unhappy and unhealthy in that on that path, only on that path. I mean, I'm still a medical doctor and I still love medicine, but it's just not the only part of me. I have so many different personalities and things that one wants to come through me. So
that is beautiful. And I think that Yeah, and I think that's a really important nuance, because a lot of people think that it is a drop in and this is it. You kind of get a sign and that's it. And sometimes it might be that. But very often it's this constant knocking at the door and saying, "Hey, could you open up? I'm trying to get in." And I think that it's really beautiful that you brought it to heart, because, balancing heart and head is a really big thing in the work that we do. As a medical doctor, you've got the science, you've got the background, and we learn a lot about the science and understanding how things work, both from a metaphysical or spiritual or energetic side, intuitive, that those heart-centered spaces, to how sound actually impacts the physical body, and how these things work in science, literally looking at atoms and molecules and how frequency, and ultrasound, these kind of things that we that are happening a lot in medicine. So I love that you have the background of both, and I want to dig in a little bit on how you marry the two, because you have a vast background of medical studies, and then you've come into sound, and so interesting through DJing of all things. I love that. So tell me first about the marriage between medicine, as in traditional medicine, Western medicine, and then the sound medicine that you do now.
So I had a time when I got deeper into the DJing and exploring sound healing that brought me to a really spiritual path and side of myself. And I really dig deep into that and experienced so many beautiful things. And I was trying to not be too much in the scientific part, just for myself to explore new things. But then eventually, when I started to create my courses and my Sound Medicine Institute, I just felt that this is exactly my superpower, so to speak, that I can bring them both together, and that they are both important. And I don't want to miss any of them. Like, both are literally super important for me. And so I'm trying to teach that as well. So they're always like, I'm showing people and explaining a lot about the science and showing them science papers and discussing them with them, so they can also understand it from a scientific part. But then we also do like the intuitive spiritual practices. And what you exactly said, like, we are trying to bring the heart and the head together and balance them, and try to have both of them. And I know that it's not always easy to live like that on a daily basis. But that's I think the main message that I want to give people through my courses.
Yeah. That's awesome. And for me, the whole balancing of heart and head is not linear, and it's not 50-50. There's some things you just need to be more heart-led and heart-centered. And then, of course, the head plays its part. Having the logic and the reasoning and the science behind it is important as well. How we maneuver is moment to moment, isn't it? It's not a cut, black and white, this is how I am, this is what I do. It's just like, this requires more heart. I work a lot with artists in the studio when they're recording their material. And I use this as an example because some of them are so technical and they know exactly what they need to do with their voice when they're recording, but they don't have as much heart present in the expression and what it is that they really want to get out. And so in the studio, as an example, someone might need to be more 70% heart and 30% head because they've got that technical stuff down. And then the other side, someone's so emotional and really expressive and it's beautiful, but there are a lot of technical flaws, which is, I much prefer the expression to come through, even with all its imperfections, but getting that part might require more 70% head in that instance or context, and then 30% heart because they're just so in their heart anyway. So I like to think of it as this balancing is really one context, but also what is needed from moment to moment. And there are some people who are just naturally more heart-centered, and then some who are naturally more head-focused. And I do think they're both important. But that balance is such a beautiful dance as we move through experiences in life. Where do you lean? What I've heard from you in your story so far is that there was a point where you came away from this head and this logic and this is the path and this is how I'm supposed to do it. Society says it. I've chosen medicine, and you allowed yourself to be in a space of awareness, to notice the signs around you that kept coming up and lighting you up, and also you leaned in with curiosity, which is a really beautiful part of your formula.
Yeah, and until today, I'm trying to stay that way, and I think I also work with doctors today and help them to manage themselves, because I think doctors, they get indoctrinated with so many beliefs and how they should work, that work needs to be hard, that you need to do this over shifts and hours, otherwise you're not a good doctor. And when they start to step out of the system and start like an online business or whatever their heart's calling is, it's still like a long process to work on these belief patterns. Yeah, that's what I saw with myself and also with other doctors that I'm helping right now.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful that you went back to what your experience was and that you can share the information and the experiences that you've had to transform yourself. Tell me now about your Akasha bowls. Tell me about these beautiful singing bowls that you create and how you use it in your practice. Is it your main instrument? Tell me more.
Yeah, you can see them behind me.
Yes, I know. I just can't wait.
2 years ago, I felt the calling to, again, yes. I had this calling, but at that time I was so much more connected and I was in my daily meditation practice. And that's where I actually now get a lot of impulses on a daily basis. Like when I'm in nature, when I'm with my instruments, when I'm singing, like you know what I mean. And I was sitting in meditation also with my crystal balls, and I just get this message over and over again that I should create my own bowls, crystal singing bowls, and because somehow I felt that a lot of people want to have good quality bowls, but on the market you can like either get like super expensive ones or like kind of cheap ones that are like just machine made and you never really know what the quality is about.
Yes.
So and that was actually like the initiation where I thought, it would be wonderful to have products that are more affordable and still really good quality, and you still get a good guidance, because I think it's so essential to get a good guidance when you create your set in the beginning, because sometimes students are in my trainings and they got like a huge chakra set and they don't know literally what to do or which balls to play together, and in the end like only 3 or 4 balls fit together and the rest don't even fit. And so I think it's important that you have this guidance in this process. And also it's so it's your instruments and you will have them for a very long time and you will work so much with them and they will show you so much about yourself. So I think it's so important that we are just that there's taking care of us, which bowls we should choose, which ones are for us. And so I help people basically to create their unique sets that are individual for them.
Yes. That's beautiful. I'd love to delve a little deeper into that. If you could give me, maybe a summary of that process, because there are a lot of people now. As a sound healer, we're speaking sound healer to sound healer here, right? So there's a lot of stuff that you're saying that completely makes sense to me. But for anyone listening who has no idea, like how crystal bowls actually work, how do they affect our energy, or how does the frequency do X, Y, Z? And then particularly the other side of that, you helping people find and choose the ones that are needed for them in particular. Talk to me a little bit about some of that process.
So the best thing would be if you could come to my studio and try them out personally, but I know that that's not always possible. So I jump on Zoom calls usually with the people, and then I ask them a little bit about themselves, where they're at, what their biggest challenges are, and from there I have an idea what I would suggest. And I always start with the first bowl, so the first one to choose. I think that's always the base. And then I will play some bowls and later also send recordings to them, because I think it's important. If you hear it one time, that's that's fine. But I think it's important that you have a recording that you can sit with and meditate on it and really be by yourself and only with the sound, and then see what comes up for you. And if it touches you, or if you don't sense anything when you hear that sound, everybody reacts different to just different sounds. And through that process, and we find the first one, and then it depends how big the set should be, if the person wants 2 only or 5. And then we bring in also with a little bit music theory background, which is also essential, because in the beginning you want to build the first 3 bowls. I would say they should be harmonic, and just sound harmonic, because the harmonic frequencies will people help to relax and just let go. Like if you play a binaural beat in the beginning, I think people will freak out, and they don't find it that relaxing. So that is really important to take into consideration. That's basically the main process. So in the music theory part, is with the intervals and octaves. Octaves are also very harmonic. So I'm just looking a little bit at that, but I have to say that the handmade crystal singing bowls, like the Akasha bowls, for example, they have a lot of overtones in them. And sometimes even one bowl has multiple notes in it, depending on how you play it. If you strike it, if you swirl around the rim. So it really depends also how you play it. So it's just a guidance, I would say. But I had notes together that are in theory not harmonic, but with the crystal bowls and the handmade crystal bowls, they sound really harmonic in the end. And that's the beauty about creating these sets, because they're so unique in the end, and you cannot find them twice.
And again, it sounds like you really are with this head and heart balancing, right? There's the intuitive part in that, what people sense they need, or what lights them up, or what how they feel in the moment of listening to something in repetition or in their meditation, and really sitting with the sound. That is not a theory, that is them feeling and noticing and sensing. It's a beautiful experience. And then, hey, there's the theory. The harmonics work really well together. These notes might be great for this particular ailment that you're experiencing, or this would be better for you in deep relaxation. And I love, again, how you kind of keep bringing back the theory, and then the practical, or the science, and then the, this beautiful magic that happens when we create sound. So that's amazing. And so your Akasha bowls, I know obviously people can find them on your site. These are things that you create, you have someone make, have handmade. And I remember reading something about an animal spirit element. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I'm in the shamanic practices, so I love to know a little bit about that with the bowls as well.
Yeah, that's also impulses that I got in my meditations, to just connect certain bowls with certain spirit animals. And as you know from your shamanic practice, every spirit animal has certain messages that comes with it. And I created also a certain mantra. And people like that concept, because they also say, like when they chose one and they didn't know the animal, and I tell it to them afterwards, they're like, oh yeah, I know that is one of my spirit animal. And so it's a really beautiful concept. But I also need to say, it's not like stiff in that sense. Like you can always recreate it, and you can always decode it and work with your spirit animal, so I'm not saying this is the bee spirit bowl and it will stay like that forever. Nothing is forever, the only constant thing is change. So and I also believe that we don't have the same predominant spirit animal all our lives. I think that also changes sometimes depending on
seasons, cycles. Yeah,
exactly.
Yes.
So.
And I think that's beautiful, tuning into what you need, what your needs change, your needs evolve with you and your growth. And I particularly love that it's it's fluid and it's, you know, it's expansive, because I think a lot of the work that we do has a lot of frameworks, and of course there's science and there's lineage and there's heritage and there's a lot of beauty, I think, but we sometimes get bogged down into the frameworks and the words of and stay rigid in that. And it's so important to actually realize that a lot of this intuitive work is not linear. There's so much that can be drawn from it. So I love that you've set an intention for these bowls, but you're saying, hey, now use it with your own intention, bring your own animals in, and all of this, because I think this is something personally I relate to it, and it's something that I teach a lot. There is this word, and then how does that actually then expand into out of the conscious mind and outward into energy and an unconscious and subconscious and all of that. So I love how free and expansive you are, and that you made that point.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not only with the spirit animal, but in general sound medicine. And for example, a lot of people, they come to me and they read somewhere on a blog or in a book that the note F is correlating to the heart chakra, and now they want a bowl with the note F. And I'm just telling them, okay, we can see later if the F is choosing you and you are choosing the note F. But in the beginning, I will just send you some things, and I will not tell you which note it is, because it is not important in the first place.
No,
it is not important. It's
all
about
they're guidelines. Yeah,
exactly, guidelines. It's all about the sound and your experience with it. That's what it's all about.
Yes, that's beautiful, and that's what I love, because I, as a teacher of sound healers as well, and teaching people about these things. Yes, we talk about the sounds that are related to those things, but then, okay, now that you have a framework or you have a guideline, what is your experience with it? And because I do a lot of compositions, there are certain elements of my compositions that are very science-based in terms of frequency or notes or things like that, if there's a particular outcome. But then there's the other side that's very intuitive and feels very much like a sonic channeling experience when I'm in the studio, that has nothing to do with theory or anything that is science-based. And when those two come together, there's some beautiful experiences that happen for people. So I really, again, I really relate to what you're saying, and I'm glad that you're making that point. I don't think I've spoken about it so much in this case on any of my other podcasts, but I love that there is a framework and there's a guideline, and then let's see the rules, and then let's break the rules. just like in music, we learn all of these things, and then we know how to improvise. And I think that is the idea on a bigger level.
Yeah, and we need improvisation, and it's so important. And there's actually science that shows that when musicians also improvise, the same brain areas get lit up that actually are who we truly are. Like it's the expression of ourselves in the end, and that can be also measured with science. So it's really beautiful, and I think it's so important, and that is in the end what truly fulfills a human being.
Being able to be free in their expression and true to their expression.
And express themselves freely and be able to do it, because so many people are not able to do it, and I struggled so much with it. Like it took a lot of work to get to that point where I can just express myself freely and just know that what I say is directly from my heart.
Yes, and that is always a work in progress, right? There's always another layer, there's always another level or a space to be in that.
Yes.
and I get that, and I love it, because I often found when I worked very much in the teaching in the music industry many years ago, and I noticed in my teaching, most of the students who had a hard time improvising musically, it was less about their understanding of theory and more about their fear of making a mistake or getting it wrong or feeling like they, whatever. Those barriers were mental and psychological, more so than them understanding these notes work together in a scale. And for me, someone who was improvising as a child, I didn't understand theory when I was just singing all over the place and making up melodies. So there is this understanding that you don't have to understand that necessarily to be able to be free and with the expression. So what I like in that is we have to get out of our own way. You know, sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. And
let those things flow.
Yeah. And I can also totally relate to that, because when I was a kid and I was playing the piano and I was already like in that time very like oriented on perfectionism. As a child, I'm also a Virgo.
Fellow Virgo!
So that started when I was really young, and I would not want to play piano in front of an audience. Like that was terrifying for me. Like I could not do it. And my teacher, she always said like, please, you play so beautifully, please, why don't you do it? But I was so scared to just do something wrong and like being exposed there to the people. And now when I look at myself now, I'm just like going on the stage and I'm holding ceremonies for hundreds of people and some meditations, and I'm not even like, there's zero anxiety or anything, because I just know that when I go there, everything that I do comes from my soul and my heart, and it's for the highest good of everyone. And I'm just so deeply in that trust that I'm not scared of anything anymore, and it's really beautiful.
Yes, I think
it's such a different experience.
Oh gosh, yes, and I love that you spoke about it from a internal place, you know, what was going on within you, that place of trust, that place of you being authentic and just trusting in the highest good. So I talk a lot about this in a lot of the workshops that I do, the many different varieties, and it's about us being the thermostat, not the thermometer. And the thermometer, you're being guided by what's going on the outside, how people are responding, what's going on, and the reflection of things out there. And then you're going, okay, this is how I'm feeling, rather than being the thermostat, which is you deciding, this is the temperature that I'm creating, this is the frequency that I'm emanating, and however it is received, it is received. I am staying within that integrity and that space of trusting, you know, my higher self, soul, what are the words that you used before, whatever works. And it's beautiful that you've come to that place of center, because it really goes to show that it's not about what's going on out there. That is then going to be affected by you. And I'm sure all of those people, you know, I say this with a pinch of salt, because I always said to my students as well, think about it that you're just weeding. When you go and play in front of an audience, you want those people who out there are not really digging your sound to go, I'm not digging this person's sound, I'm going to go somewhere else. Because the more that weeds, and I'm not saying that people are weeds, but the more of that you allow to happen, the things to fall away, the frequencies that don't match yours, the more space and that you create to attract the things that and the people that are. So it works so beautifully in finding your tribe, your audience. All of this is when you are that thermostat, you start to create that for the people on the outside. And I think it's incredible.
Yes,
it's incredible.
I love that picture with the thermostat. It's beautiful.
So talk to me about your DJing, because I saw that you kind of not only DJ for these beautiful events, but also you teach people how to DJ and bring the DJing into the sound medicine. And I want to know a little bit more about that, because that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. The next course is starting in November, and I'm excited about that, because when I was DJing, I really made it about the energy from the beginning. Like I was always like, when I was DJing, I was spreading my energy, and my heart was open, and I felt the love of the music and everything. It's just so beautiful. And then I was also in locations where the energy was so wrong and so off for me, and I just could see that I don't want to DJ there anymore. It's not for me anymore, because I used to DJ also in clubs and in a lot of different events, corporate events. Like I was doing so many different things, but now I really shifted that to outside locations only, and ecstatic dance. Like I'm more specialized in ecstatic dance now, which is like the getting high on your own supply on your body, like movement, and also integrating it with cacao ceremonies and with sound healings. So that is the thing that I mainly do now. It totally shifted for me, and then I realized. Because people are asking me like, oh, I also want to learn how to DJ. Can you recommend a DJ course? And I couldn't, because I couldn't find a course that was talking about the technical side of DJing, but then also the energetic part.
Yeah, that's
how important it is, because you are the most important person as a DJ at a party or at an event when you play a set, because you are the thermostat, you are creating the energy. It's all about you, and it's so powerful, and you can do powerful things with how you mix, how you guide your energy, and also what is super important, how you protect yourself. Because what I could see is, like, when I was in clubs and there were energies coming to me that were just not good for me. And on the next day, I got like huge migraines, and I was like, what is going on? And then I was lying in bed and I was like, okay, it was because of this energy. I'm 100% sure of this. And then I started to develop techniques to protect myself as well, energetically. And I also have like kind of rituals and mantras that I sing for myself, like to bless the people and to work with their energy as well. So it's just behind DJing there's so much more. That's what I want to teach in my courses, and that you can work with that.
I think that's incredible. It's unique because I have never heard of people combining those two. So I think you're onto something really wonderful, and that's incredible. And I did want to ask you, so you kind of touched on it briefly just now, but I do want to ask you about your personal sounding practice. What is your day-to-day? What are some of the things that you do sonically for yourself in your practice?
So I think that's always changing.
Yes.
I always feel drawn to certain instruments and certain techniques, but what I do really on a daily basis is humming. And I do that ever since I discovered that afterwards, that I'm humming since I'm a child, and always when I'm DJing, I'm doing it a lot. And when I just want to soothe myself, it's very powerful, and you don't need anything for that. Yes. You can do it anywhere. I do it on the public transport or wherever I am. You can always like sit down and just hum for yourself and breathe. Yes. And other exercises are with the bowls, of course, just to soothe myself and play them for myself. And at the moment, I really love the harmonium, so I'm chanting a lot of mantras, and that's my main practice, but it's always changing a little bit, and I'm changing the exercises.
We evolve, we move, we go with our needs. But I really like that I talk about this a lot in my work, so I really like that what you do is one of the most simple things that anyone can do, humming. Because I find that if we can make a lot of these things that we do naturally a conscious practice, how beautiful and beneficial they can be. I mean, I've done a couple sighing workshops, having people sigh for an extended period of time with guidance and things, and also humming around the house, and how we find so much joy in this, but we don't necessarily do it consciously. And so imagine what happens, and there's a lot of science around humming and it activating the vagus nerve and how it affects the body and everything. So there's so many beautiful things that people can implement very easily into their practices if they wanted to start a very simple and basic sounding practice at the start. When I say basic, new, because humming is not basic. There's so much magic that can happen, but basic from a perspective of I've never done this before. How can I jump in and start humming, sighing, creating sounds, and then being open and intuitive to the sounds around you.
Yes.
That is beautiful. So Lisa, what is your definition of healing?
That is interesting. So I think in English it's easier to talk about it, because I also hold German courses and I'm struggling to explain it. Because in German we only have heilen, which is healing and curing at the same time, but it's so different. Yeah. And that's always two words that I try to distinguish, like the curing and the healing.
Yes.
And curing is for me like more fixing on physical level through like a pill or a surgery. But if you're cured, that doesn't mean that you're healed. Yeah.
Yes.
And the thing is, it's also the other way around. Like if we are healed, we still can have a physical problem. Yeah. But healing is on other levels, I would say. It's different layers that all comes into play, like mental healing, spiritual healing, emotional healing. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's something that is not looked at enough in conventional medicine yet. But I really hope that is changing, and that is also part of my work and my mission through sound medicine, because sound medicine is helping to shift in exactly these areas, like the emotional, spiritual, mental parts, and it's a shift in consciousness, basically. And what is so interesting is it's in the end, it can be explained with quantum physics and physics in the end. I mean, I know that in this area, there's so much not explained yet, but just like looking at what we have already discovered explains so much for me. Like the two Slit experiment. I think you probably know about that with the electrons.
Yes, I do. Tell us about it, though, because not everyone listening would know.
Yeah, it's basically, it was an experiment where they had like a plate and they had two slits in it, and they were sending electrons through that. And on the back, on the other end, they also had like another wall where they could see where the electrons would hit. And they could see that when they were not observing the electrons, they basically had, they were moving, and they were just creating waveforms. Like they were moving like waves. Yeah? And in the minute when they started to observe the electrons behind the slits, they started to become matter, like atoms. They not atoms, but they went into the physical form. Yeah. So they were not the wave, and that's all. And that's the so-called observer effect.
Yes.
And I think that's exactly what is happening within us, like not only on the outside, but also how we observe ourselves. Yeah. And when we have a deeper emotional or spiritual problem or issue or blockage, we can change that when we change the way how we look at ourselves.
Yes.
And how do we change that? By changing consciousness. Yeah. And that is something that can happen through sound meditations and being in sound and being with sound, and just letting sound create that space where anything can happen.
Yes.
And for me, that makes so much sense. And I already saw that in so many of my clients and patients, and I bet you too.
Yes,
So
indeed.
It's so powerful. And I just think that more people need to have access to that and need to know about this. And I also had a couple of doctors in my courses that also have my Akasha bowls now, and they work with it and implement it into their work. And it's so beautiful. And I feel so honored that I can be part of this transformation that will happen even more, and is happening already. Yeah.
Yes, I love that, because I think that, I mean, I know that sound medicine is becoming more popular, it's becoming more known, it's becoming more accepted and accessible, but we have so much more work to do. We have so many people who don't know what sound healing is, or how sound can be used in a healing and transformative experience. And I love the fact that you are able to take that into the medical world already, you know, bringing more and more of that, because I think that hybrid, let's call it, is going to be a beautiful way in for a lot of people who, you know, sometimes there's a bit of and understandably, if you don't understand something, sometimes you can be cynical or, not too sure about things. And I understand that. So it's nice that there is an opportunity to look at it from a way that feels more credible, the science, the structure, the understanding of it, and noticing what happens when the magic occurs. I had an experience in my early days as a sound healing healer when someone came to me and they were like, well, I don't believe any of this stuff. I just, I think my wife his wife bought it for him as a present, and he came along just curious, or I'll just see what this is about. But you could feel that his energy was very much like closed, like, I don't believe any of this. I'm just going to lie on the table and let you do your thing and then say thanks to my wife, kind of thing. It was really beautiful, actually, to experience it, because I know what that wall was about. It's like, I don't understand this. This doesn't make sense to me. And thankfully, not everything needs to make sense in our conscious mind, because during the session, this man just released so much, cried like a baby on the table. It was beautiful to witness his unfolding. And he didn't leave with a better understanding of what exactly it was, but he understood the power of it and then started to delve into it himself, because he thought, I have to know what this magic is about. It was incredible, the experience. All the walls came down, and so much healing and transformation happened there for him and then in their relationship. So I love that you are creating opportunities in a space where things are more acceptable, to bring things that might feel a bit out there and far-fetched into a very practical world. We need more of this in the world today, more now than ever. More people coming and doing the work that we're doing. So I love that you're doing this incredible work with sound and your bowls and your DJing and all the courses that I know that you have available. This is beautiful. Thanks. This is great.
Thank you. Thank you as well for doing the work. So I'm always happy for everyone who's this and joining the path.
Yes, I really appreciate that. We walk together and do it together. It's amazing. So where can people find you, Lisa, online? Where can they find your work?
My website, it's Sound by Alice, ALIZZ.com.
Right.
You will also link it. I think it's kind of my brand evolved out of my DJ name, because my DJ name was Alice Deep World, because I really have a connection to Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And that's how I created it. It came to me, the name, and then I changed it when I was starting to work more and more with sound medicine to Sound by Alice, and that's the brand, how it evolved, and I like it like that. And awesome. That's also the name on Instagram. So on Instagram I'm very active, anyone can text me. I answer all the messages by myself.
Yes.
So just reach out, and if you have questions or if you want to connect, I would love that.
Yeah, amazing. Of course, I will put all the links and everything for them to look at. And as before I let you go, I have to say a huge thank you. It's such an honor to connect at such levels with people who are out there doing the work, and all the work that you're doing to help people transform and heal, and really bringing sound into the forefront of medicine, which is a really beautiful thing. So thank you. I sit in honor of that, and I celebrate you and your work. I do need to ask you one final question. I like to ask all of my guests, and that is, what is your soulful sound to the world? A self-prayer or desire that you wish upon the world?
I think a sound would be just a sigh, like it feels so good.
Oh gosh,
we just
yes.
need to do that just more often, because we all deserve to relax and just be in the moment. And I love how sound gives us these moments.
Yes.
And desire, prayer. I mean, I think in the end, all comes back to love. That's always what I love to mention, because that's where we come from. That's where we go to. And I think that we can definitely experience more love and connection in sound meditations, and learn how to connect with that. And and then consequently also bring that connection and that love out into the world. And that is what the world needs. So the world needs
love it.
all of you.
Love, connection. I love it. Let's sigh that into being. Amazing. Thank you for your presence and your time today, Lisa. I can't wait to see how things unfold for you, and I'm so happy to be connected with you as well.
Yes, likewise. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please feel free to share it with your friends and remember to subscribe. From my heart to yours, sending you love, healing, and sound wherever you are.